Dispatch is coming to the Switch too, and you might think on the surface, well, this is a good thing, right? Well, with all good things comes a little controversy, so let's break this one all down. Up next. What's going on, guys? It's Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content, drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So today I wanted to talk about this whole Dispatch on the Switch 2 controversy, mainly because, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, how or why? And for those of you not in the loop, Dispatch is a game I liken to something like The Boys or even Invincible, where it's based around superheroes. It's like a choose your own narrative type game. I hear nothing but great things about it. I do want to play it eventually. But there are some adult themes in this game, and by adult themes, I mean there might be some nudity, there might be some sexual scenes within this game, and there might be some cursing, there might be a little violence, the whole nine. It's an M-rated game, and yeah, it's coming to the Switch too, but it's not what it's supposed to be. Now to kind of lay the groundwork here, Dispatch does originally have built into the game a profanity filter, one that does censor the game up front, so if you do play it on the Xbox, if you do play it on the PC, the PS5, you can censor the game as is on those consoles. Now, when talking about the Switch 2, shout out to Eurogamer for this report. Let's dive into what's going on here. So today's news is coming from Victoria Phillips Kennedy of Eurogamer, and this is where they do talk about Dispatch. And I'm just going to read this whole article and then we'll dive into the implications of it. For those unaware, Dispatch includes a number of instances where players can see human, or, superhuman anatomy, such as penises, breasts throughout various chapters. Meanwhile, there are certain noises that suggest sexual pleasure. Like I said earlier, in other versions of the game, it appears on other platforms, there is an option where players do have the chance to toggle for censorship options and kind of turn content on and off. However, the Switch version of this title, players will not have that same choice. Explicit content censorship is implemented as a standard option and has been removed from the game entirely. And this is where we're going to bring in ad hoc statement about this all that they did share with Eurogamer. Quote, different platforms have different content criteria and submissions are evaluated individually. We worked with Nintendo to ensure the content within the title met the criteria to release on their platform, but the core narrative and gameplay experiences remain identical to the original release. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I don't want to sound like, Dispatch is now a bad game because it's on the Switch too. But to say that it is true to the original game, that is just a flat-out false statement. Now, from what I gathered, there really isn't that much nudity or that much to say, oh, it's built off showing titties and stuff like that. No, that's not the point here. It is an amended game. It is changed at some point, and there is a scene within the game that apparently does have very minute story implications, so there's that. And my gripe with this all is, why didn't they just release the game as is, where they do have the censorship toggle available to people who play it on the Switch too? Outright removing that option kind of just forces users on the Switch 2 into a corner. And this is where I bring in games like Cyberpunk 2077 that, to my knowledge, doesn't have this same censorship thing. And I've played Cyberpunk. In that game, if you play as the male V character, you get full frontal. There is dong just flapping about in the wind. And there are sexual scenes in that game. There is use of drugs. There is violence. There is everything of that nature within this game. And that game was marketed heavily whenever the Switch 2 did drop, as if to say, hey, you can play this game on the Switch too, and it performs very well compared to other handhelds. And this is where that whole, Nintendo needs to pick a lane thing starts to come in. And while we're on this subject, let's talk about the eShop and how the Switch original, that eShop was plagued with bad games, and to my knowledge as well. The Switch 2 is suffering that same thing, where if you search the word hentai, things pop up. And I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I personally haven't bought any of those games, but they're still on the eShop. They're still there to purchase for $5 a piece. So it's like, oh, suddenly Nintendo's censorship thing is very, flippy floppy, so to speak. And to me, Dispatch as is, like, the vanilla experience as far as, like, you can just play the game on other platforms, I do think some people might opt to just do that, because it's like, oh, we're being forced to have this version of the game whenever this version's out there. I don't want to sound like a D1 gooner, but, like, it's still part of the game. It's still, that's what makes Dispatch Dispatch. And yeah, for me, that didn't really sit well. And then I'm factoring in this other idea of, like, other potential games that are coming to the Switch 2 or that might come to the Switch 2, where I'm looking down the barrel of, all right, Nintendo Direct next week. I assume we're going to get a lot of information about a new Mario game. I assume we're going to get some information about Pokemon, or, like, the inkling that it is coming. But Xbox is a big factor in this all. I do think the next Nintendo Direct will feature Xbox in a heavy way. I'm talking Call of Duty. I'm talking Starfield. I'm talking all those Xbox games that we've been talking about going over to the Switch 2. That's going to come to be. And then does this whole ethics thing of censoring a game like Call of Duty that does have profanity, that does have violence, does that come into play? I know it doesn't, because Dispatch is not getting that profanity censorship so hard. There is still that toggle, but they could have easily said, no, profanity as well. That's going to be bleeped out. It's those things of, like, once you do this, what does it mean for other games that are unknown? And if I'm a Switch 2 user, I'm like, man, they're kind of robbing us from something, and it's like, I don't know if I want to play that here. But I'm gonna pass it off to you guys. What do you think about Dispatch being censored on the Switch 2 in a heavy way, I might add? It's just crazy to me. Once I seen the story, I was like, oh, they're doing that, huh? It's just weird, but I guess the saying goes, Nintendo gonna Nintendo, and do they switch this up? No pun intended. Do they see enough backlash over this where they say, hey, just release it as is, but, like, start the game in the toggled mode and then users can go in and change it if they really want to? That's a nice remedy. There, I fixed it for you, Nintendo. But that about does it here. I've been Kalo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.